Marcelina Lisa was rushed to a Pensacola, Florida hospital without knowing what had happened. Unfortunately, it was too late because she passed away the next day, which was December 31st. According to an autopsy, the young child had sustained a head injury. But what actually transpired on that terrible night, and what caused poor little Marcelina to suffer such tragedy? Hello and welcome back to Mystery Detective, your go-to channel for everything cold cases and mysteries. Stay with us as we explore this mystery which took 21 long years to be solved. Niceville, Florida is a place renowned for its cozy small-town atmosphere. There, residents can explore a variety of recreational and historic sites in a generally tranquil environment. Imagine taking a stroll through a park or stopping by a historical site that has been preserved. The locals are typically friendly and hospitable, which frequently contributes to the town's reputation as being nice, not just in name, but also in spirit. The city's peace is, however, somewhat counterbalanced by the crime rate, which, while not alarmingly high, is present. In this ostensibly tranquil setting, occurred the tragic case of Marcelina Lisa. On December 15, 2000, the world welcomed Marcelina Lisa into it. She entered Mary Jean Lisa's life and brought the happiness. Marcelina developed into a lively young girl in her brief existence. Her dark hair and chubby cheeks framed her wide, inquisitive eyes. As of 2002, she was living in Niceville, Florida, in her mother, Mary Jean Lisa's tender care. Her father's identity is still unknown. Marcelina, a cheerful toddler, resided in a tight-knit neighborhood with her mother. Unknown to anyone, young Marcelina will unfortunately soon face darker times. Life appeared to be a routine for Marcelina Lisa and her mother, Mary Jean, in their Niceville, Florida home on the morning of December 30th, 2002. Routines for a 2-year-old typically revolve around the little pleasures in life, like breakfast and playing with a favorite toy. Like any other day, Marcelina's would have started with her mother, Mary, tending to her as she had done every day since she was born. However, December 30th, 2002 was tragically unique, when Marcelina experienced a seizure and lost consciousness. Her mother Mary noticed a startling and unsettling change. In a fit of panic, Marcelina was transported to a hospital in Pensacola, Florida. Despite the medical team's best efforts, Marcelina's condition was critical at this point, and there was little hope. Marcelina tragically passed away the next day, on December 31st, 2002, at the young age of 2 years. Her mother felt the crushing weight of this loss right away. Her sorrow was intense and real. Those close to Mary immediately alerted the authorities to the emergency because it appeared that Marcelina's death was a homicide. As soon as Marcelina's tragic death occurred, investigators flocked to the area. They started by interrogating Mary, Marcelina's mother, as well as the hospital staff who had treated the young child. A disturbing picture quickly became apparent. There were numerous wounds on Marcelina, including 18 bruises all over her frail body. After an autopsy, the medical examiner concluded that she had died of blunt force head trauma, which was consistent with homicide. The police had no leads or additional suspects at the time. They grilled Mary hard, trying to get to the bottom of what had happened to Marcelina. Mary, however, insisted that she was unable to recall any details of the incident and that she was ignorant of the manner in which her child had died. Mary's story changed on November 6, 2003, during a subsequent round of questioning. She admitted to the police that she may have lost consciousness out of rage and unintentionally hurt her child. Due to her remark, Mary was now the main suspect in Marcelina's death. However, establishing her guilt wasn't an easy task. She could not be definitively linked to the crime by the available evidence. Investigators conducted a thorough investigation and spoke with numerous witnesses. They discovered that Mary had a reputation for having a severe temper, but there was no prior information about her having blackouts. This new information was helpful, but it was still insufficient to positively identify Mary as the murderer. Marcelina's case heartbreakingly started to stall as the leads grew stale and the evidence remained circumstantial, ultimately becoming a cold case that left the community searching for answers and justice for a young life taken abruptly. Even though it had been almost 2 decades since the tragic death of Marcelina Lisa, Captain David Allen of the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office had not forgotten about the case, and his team of hard-working detectives wasn't prepared to let this cold case remain unsolved. They determined that it was time to re-examine all of the evidence related to Marcelina's passing after nearly 19 years. The team took a methodical approach. They desired to approach the evidence with fresh eyes, challenging all of their presumptions and casting doubt on others. For a new assessment of the case, they contacted the medical examiner's office. Could the initial analysis have contained an error somewhere? Captain Allen and his team were eager to learn the answer. There was a significant development in April 2021. A painstaking autopsy of Marcelina's remains was performed by the medical examiner, who made the tragic discovery that the young child had suffered from shaken baby syndrome. This condition typically occurs when a parent or caregiver shakes a baby or toddler violently out of frustration or anger, which is frequently sparked by a child's persistent crying. The child's brain moves back and forth within the skull as a result of this violent shaking, resulting in bruising, swelling, and frequently fatal bleeding of the brain. The re-evaluation of this case took into account factors other than just the medical aspect. The team of detectives led by Captain Allen were aware that they required more. They dug through old records and conducted fresh interviews. They suddenly found themselves knocking on doors and conversing with individuals who might be able to provide the final pieces to this terrible puzzle. When Marcelina passed away, her mother reportedly told investigators that she had blacked out and was unaware of how her daughter had died. But as more witnesses came forward, the investigators began to hear a different account. For the first time in almost 2 decades, the pieces of the puzzle were coming together to form a coherent and unsettling picture as the evidence mounted. Captain Allen, who had the newly obtained evidence and testimonies in his possession, addressed the media, saying, "Based on the evidence we had and new interviews, we were able to submit an arrest warrant for felony murder on the mother." One can only imagine Mary Jean's shock when police officers showed up to take her into custody on September 23, 2022, almost 20 years after the tragic death of her daughter, Marcelina. After her daughter passed away, Mary relocated to California. She was apprehended there by deputies from the Yuba County Sheriff's Department. She was detained in the Yuba County Jail without bail. She was later returned to Okaloosa County, Florida, by the authorities, where she would be charged with at least 1 charge of murder. Okaloosa County Sheriff Eric Aden expressed the fervent desire of his detectives to solve these unsolved cases. For them, it's more than just a job. They are committed to searching for every piece of information that might reopen a case that has stagnated because they are passionate about their role in delivering justice. A nearly 20-year-old tragedy has been given new life in this case, thanks to the investigators' tireless efforts, which potentially brought closure and justice for young Marcelina Lisa. 1985 born, Mary Jean Lisa was caught in the eye of a terrifying storm. She was a 38-year-old Asian or Pacific Islander woman. Mary resided at 2324 Pertania Circle in Navarre, Florida, for a few years following the passing of her daughter. Mary appeared to live a normal life, but she was notorious for having a hot temper. Her relationships were characterized by this quality, which cast a negative light on many of her interactions. Her temper was more than a simple annoyance. It was a dominant personality trait that could explode violently. Sadly, no one in her life seemed to be able to control this aspect of her. Although Mary had no history of criminal activity, her temper has now tragically come into conflict with the law. Given that she has never been convicted of a crime before, she is at a dark crossroad that no one would have predicted for her. Friends, neighbors, and other members of the community are still processing the shocking incident that resulted in her arrest. To find out what went so horribly wrong, the police were contacted right away. The tragic circumstances surrounding the death of the young child, Marcelina Lisa, are revealed by the details of this story. The details in the arrest report provide insight into a family arrangement that was rife with conflict and eventually ended tragically. Mary Jean Lisa, Marcelina's mother, did not have primary custody of her at the time, and she already had a case filed with the Florida Department of Children and Families. The primary guardians of Marcelina, whose names have not been made public, were planning a trip out of town. The Department of Children and Families gave Mary Jean permission to stay with Marcelina for an extended period of time because they value family. The agreement went into effect on December 20th, 2002. The first few days of the visit seemed to be going smoothly. 3 days after the overnight stay started, a caseworker went to the house. The caseworker saw Marcelina during the visits as active and healthy, with no indications of harm or distress. A couple of days later, on December 29, Mary Jean's sister visited the house and also observed that the youngster seemed secure and healthy. Then December 30th, 2002 arrived. This would turn out to be a crucial and disastrous day. Mary Jean and her daughter were home alone on this particular day. An identified witness later picked them up and noticed something suspicious right away. Marcelina was unresponsive and drowsy. The witness inquired about Marcelina's condition from Mary Jean out of concern. Mary Jean responded by stating that Marcelina had been ill for a few days. Mary Jean had not taken her daughter to the doctor despite the illness. The day went on, and the situation got worse and worse. A terrifying turn of events occurred after Mary Jean changed Marcelina's diaper. Marcelina started to convulse and her breathing stopped. The witness and Mary Jean hastily drove the young girl to Twin Cities Hospital in Niceville in an effort to get medical help. When she was being examined, they found that she had a total of 18 contusions. A subsequent CT scan revealed persistent blood clots on the surface of the brain and signs of brain shrinkage. She was consequently transferred to Sacred Heart Hospital in Pensacola. But tragically, she did not survive. Mary was detained without bail while she awaited her court date and was forced to spend time in the bleak Yuba County Jail. There, she was listed under the official name Mary Jean Lisa. She was given a date to put on her calendar, February 13th, 2023. As the seriousness of her predicament grew more and more apparent. The date was supposed to be a pre-trial conference rather than a trial. It was a significant stage in the legal procedure. The prosecution and defense would meet before the judge during this crucial pre-trial conference. Usually, they talked about the evidence, thought about possible plea deals, and set the stage for how the trial might proceed. This conference would be a turning point in Mary's life, possibly determining the course of her future. The specifics of what happened during Mary's pre-trial conference are currently being kept a closely guarded secret because they have not yet been made public. Sheriff Eric Aiden didn't think twice about taking a few minutes to address the neighborhood about the unsolved murder of Marcelina Lisa. He acknowledged the investigators at the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for their unwavering commitment. He specifically expressed his appreciation for the Criminal Investigation Division's steadfast dedication to the case. Sheriff Aiden emphasized that he and his co-workers have a strong desire to re-examine old cases. They take a firm stance. Even if there isn't a quick fix, they are committed to looking, learning, and probing. Their goal is to gather any piece of knowledge or tiny piece of information that could bring them one step closer to solving the cold cases. This spirit of tenacity is best exemplified by the Marcelina Lisa case. It was evidence of the lengths the team would go to see that justice was served. Families, neighbors, and friends felt compelled to reach out as details emerged, and the community sought resolution, reaffirming their faith in the police and their pursuit of the truth. What do you think about this case? Do you think Mary Jean Lisa intentionally shook her daughter to death? Let us know what you think in the comment. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.